going to talk about something that those of us who love dairy foods sometimes seem uncomfortable with: lactose intolerance. I know the feeling, even with some of my own family members saying drinking milk or eating ice cream cause digestive upsets. How could that be? Is it really dairy that's the problem? That was my reaction. Unhappily, now as perhaps I know I'm getting older, but perhaps as a result of getting older, I'm afraid I'm experiencing some of the same difficulties. Maybe it runs in a family. I've tried A2 milk with some success, and I'm now drinking lactose-free whole milk produced locally here by Rosa Brothers Dairy. It tastes great, and I don't notice any difference in taste or texture from regular milk. So today, to help us get a handle on this issue, I'm really pleased to welcome Dr. Amy Boileau, the Vice President of Regulatory Affairs for National Dairy Council and the go-to expert on this topic at DMI. Amy, welcome. Tell us a little bit about your work.
Great. Thank you so much, Joel. It's really great to be here today. Just a little bit of background on me. I'm a nutrition scientist by training and also a registered dietitian. I work for the National Dairy Council, as you mentioned, which is funded by U.S. dairy farmers. Their dollars are so important and make a lot of this great science and knowledge that we have about dairy, they make it possible. At National Dairy Council, I look after regulatory affairs, so I work across the Federation and with teams on being sure that all of our statements and all the things that we say are highly credible and also scientifically substantiated. So that's just a little bit about me.
Well, thank you. And we look forward to this conversation from your perspective. Help us understand, what is lactose intolerance and what should people do if they think they have it?
Yeah, so lactose intolerance itself refers to the collective symptoms that occur when an individual is not digesting lactose completely. So these symptoms that you hear about include gas, abdominal pain, bloating, and sometimes laxative effects as well. What's happening is lactose not being fully digested gets into the colon and is fermented there by the microbes that reside there. So if an individual believes that they have lactose intolerance, what I normally would recommend is they first consult their health professional just to be sure there isn't something else going on that would explain those symptoms. And so once an individual has a lactose intolerance diagnosis, then we can begin to work with the individual to identify the dairy foods that are going to work best for them.
Is aging perhaps a contributing factor? Although I've read some articles about lactose intolerance in even babies and young children too. Is there an age factor?
Yeah, so let's talk about that. Yes, it's possible to have a difference in lactase expression with age, but let's square up on a little bit of science first, if you don't mind. So in order for an individual to experience lactose intolerance symptoms, they have to be maldigesting or not completely digesting the lactose that they consume. And this is usually the result of either lower expression or a lack of expression of an enzyme called lactase in the small intestine. So we know that the enzyme lactase is required for proper digestion of lactose that comes in our dairy foods, in some of our dairy foods. And so changes in this expression is what is a prerequisite or actually needed in order for an individual to experience true lactose intolerance symptoms. So let's start talking a little bit about age. Now we know that virtually all human infants are born with the expression of lactase. And so all human infants have the ability to digest lactose. Now you just alluded to that there are some exceptions to that. And there are exceptions, those are medically extremely rare. But generally humans are born with the ability to digest lactose. Now, from the published literature, we know that expression of this enzyme can be reduced and begin to disappear at some point after weaning. And in published literature, we have seen documentation of this decreased expression starting to occur anywhere between age 2 years and even as high as 20 years. but it's clear from what we know in the literature that there isn't a prescribed age, there isn't a certain time in life, and certainly not all people will lose their ability to digest lactose in their adult life. So yes, it can happen with age.
What is National Dairy Council, and what have you been doing in order to outreach and communicate about this trait, if you will, or this condition? It seems like with our emphasis on foods today and the interest that so many folks have in everything from gluten-free to whatever else it might be, there seems to be more discussion about this.
Yep, there has been. And the National Dairy Council has been very much focused on dispelling myths and really finding solutions that help people to enjoy dairy and get the nutrient value that they really do need. So the National Dairy Council has quite a lot of educational material and programming. Much of it is available at usdairy.com. The council has worked with health professional organizations as well to facilitate education and find solutions and really remove lactose intolerance as a barrier to obtaining the nutrient-rich dairy foods that are recommended in our daily diets.
Are there particular dairy foods that folks who have this condition can enjoy? Are there medications that help?
Yeah, sure. So lactose intolerance certainly does not have to be a barrier to enjoying dairy. There are a lot of great options available. If you look at the grocery, the section in the aisle, you can see lactose-free milk. Lactose-free milk is growing in popularity. It's the same wholesome, natural milk as conventional milk, just without the lactose. Another great option for people is natural hard cheeses. Natural hard cheeses are virtually lactose-free. They may contain a trace of lactose, but it's a small amount. And that's one of the reasons that they're popular with the low carbohydrate or keto diets as well. And then as we make our way down the aisle to yogurt, yogurt is also a great option. Yogurt is naturally fermented dairy, and in that process, some of the lactose is consumed in that natural process. And then those live active cultures that are there with the yogurt as it's being consumed can facilitate lactose digestion. So again, lactose intolerance really doesn't have to be a barrier, and there are a lot of great options.
Sure. Well, that's all very encouraging and helpful to understand that. Overall, are you seeing from a sales standpoint, is there more interest in some of these lactose-free products in the dairy case? Are sales increasing?
Joel, yes, they are. And a great example of that is what's happened in the marketplace for lactose-free fluid milk. So if we start with lactose-free fluid milk, the market size of it is about $1.7 billion today, and it has experienced growth. In 2020, lactose-free milk grew 19% versus 2019, both on a volume and on a dollar share as well. Lactose-free milk holds about 5.6% of the share in terms of volume and 11% of share in terms of milk dollars. And if we look at how many households purchase lactose-free milk, we know that the household penetration for lactose milk today is about 21%, which is up from 18% in 2019 and 15% in 2015. So yes, we are seeing tremendous growth and interest and popularity in lactose-free milk.
Well, we appreciate you joining us to talk about this particular topic. And as I mentioned at the top, it has a little bit more personal interest than some. And we thank you for your help here. We've been speaking with Dr. Amy Boileau, who's Vice President of Regulatory Affairs at the National Dairy Council. Amy, thank you for being with us at Dairy Business Update.
Thank you so much for having me. It is most welcome.
And I'm your host, Joel Hastings, and you can find us at dairybusiness.com.